Welcome back to Where Foxes Walk. Hope you're doing well. Of course, we start this week's episode with the sad news that one of Leicester's best ever chairmen, Milan Mandarić, sadly passed away this week. And Alan, Leicester fan, says he was the man that got the club back on track and, of course, had that promotion from League One. Hope you're all doing well. This week, of course, then was lots to talk about football-wise as well. Sign Jordan James up is the cry following that performance against Swansea. Who's our September Player of the Month? We're talking about refereeing standards, and we've started last week the A to Z of Leicester City. B, we're up to this week. Who gets in for B for you? Well, Gordon Banks is what AI suggested. Can you beat that? We, of course, have got Tim and Jim back with us to look back on. It's been a pretty good week for Leicester overall. But let's start off with the saddest news this weekend, Tim. Milan Mandarić, who's well respected across the three clubs, English clubs that he's chairman over, and how do you sum up his impact at Leicester?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, obviously, it's incredibly sad news that's come out this week, like you said, Mark. And I think ultimately, Leicester, he was seen as perhaps a bit of a controversial figure, little bit like Marmite, I think, to a certain degree. I mean, 100% in my eyes. Look, he was the man that definitely got us back on track, laid the groundworks for us to go on to where we are now. But I think also, some fans will perhaps look back at it slightly differently. But yeah, certainly in my eyes, look, he steered us through a really, really difficult time as a club, and then obviously passed us on to the King Power Group, and well, the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. And also condolences go out to his friends and family. Right, let's switch gears then, Jim, and let's talk about the fact that many Leicester fans are saying this weekend about Jordan James. It's exactly what we missed last season in the Premier League. A box-to-box midfielder that can also do that. He's absolutely fantastic. Sign him up. He's looking a handful, Jim.
He's definitely, in my opinion, definitely took the role that Dewsbury Hall had when he was at Leicester a couple of years ago. That's what we missed last season. The person who could take charge of the midfield, like a Harry Winks, but more attacking wise than Winks, because he's more defensive minded, in my opinion. And that person who could assist and score and go out there and boss the midfield. And that's what last year we struggled with. And now we've got him. I do think that if he carries on how he's going, he could be better than Dewsbury Hall. Even though Dewsbury Hall in the winning championship season was outstanding, if James carries on, he could be even better.
Wow, that's some statement. I mean, there's lots of. I mean, I could have filled the whole show with superlatives. Joe says, "You sir, an effing sensation." This one here, sign this man on effing permanent. What an effing player we have here. Tim. What impresses you most about him in terms of his footballing qualities?
I think, like Jim said, I think he's got that box to box ability, hasn't he? I think we've gone through a period of time where we've had sort of more solely attack minded players and solely defensive minded players, but we've been lacking that player, haven't we? Like Jim said, I think since Dewsbury Hall left the club, that would literally pick a ball up in our half and drag the whole team up the pitch, and often culminating with a positive play, either an assist or a goal, or just getting us in the right part of the pitch. But yeah, I mean, he's a young man. I think a lot of Leicester fans are placing a lot of hope on his shoulders, which I think is exciting. But no, he looks the package, and I think, look, we've got this option to buy him apparently with the deal that we've got with him on the loan, and he's doing tomorrow. We need to sign him.
Brilliant. If you just come across the channel, by the way, wondering what on earth was going on, each week we look back at Leicester's results. We look at the good takes and the bad takes from social media Leicester, and we put it to a panel of experts. Both Tim and Jim, of course, travel the country following Leicester, as you have done this week, haven't you, with the away games we've had. And if you would like to be part of this little community, we'd love you to just press that little button at the bottom that says to subscribe as we grow this. Grow this channel into something hopefully quite large. Right, Jim. What was you first of all? What did you make of the starting 11 against Swansea? Is it evidence that Marty's finally finding out what his best team is? I mean, we had this tweet in respect of that here. Jack says, "Who'd have thought not picking utter rubbish at centre mid would result in a win?" No names mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely getting close to the 11 that he prefers. I do still think that Carranza needs to start. I mean, Daka again. Yeah, he's just not good enough, even at this level. He just doesn't really bring. Yeah, he brings a bit of energy and a bit of speed, but if you can't score and you can't do anything with it, then I just think that you're not going to get. I mean, look at Coventry, the goals they're getting in. We're missing that player, and I think he needs to start Carranza. But apart from that, I do think that this team, by the look of it, is his preferred 11.
Yeah, on Daka, Matt says Daka's never going to be the number 9 we need, but at this level, a couple of goals and his confidence could make a difference. He put in a decent shift today. Yeah, I mean, Jim, do you agree that he is making the effort? I mean, last week we were talking about AU, and now we're giving Daka some.
I mean, it's all right making the effort. It's all right making the effort, but if you haven't got any end product to back it up, I mean, the whole idea of a striker is to get you the goals that you need to stay up or to get promoted. And if we're just playing him without any goals or assists, then all we're doing is playing with another midfielder. And you're not going to get the goals that you need playing him up front. He's just not. He's got about 20 goals since he signed for us, and that is pathetic, in my opinion. He may run round and he may, give his all, so to speak, but he is just not the player that we need to take us to the next level and try. Because if you go down to goal difference, we're going to struggle.
Tim, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, don't disagree with Jim. I think Daka has had a lot of chances in the Leicester side across many years to kind of show that he was this kind of follow-on player that we signed to replace Jamie Vardy way back when. He just hasn't done it. I think, in fairness to him, I did think his performance Saturday was better than previous performances. But like Jim said, he still hasn't scored. Followed him well, I think, from Fataru's attempt that hit the crossbar, followed it in well, but obviously unfortunately put the header over. But no, I think it's a bit of a conundrum, isn't it? Because obviously Carranza came on one-on-one with the keeper, fluffed it. I mean, a bit of a heavy touch, wasn't it? Fluffed it a little bit. But I think a bit of competition is what I think the team needs. And yeah, I mean, why not next game start Carranza and kind of give Daka something to think about?
Yeah. Some good goals in that game in Swansea, Jim, weren't there? Which one was your favourite?
Which goal did you say? Sorry.
Yeah, who did it better? Was it James?
For me, it was James, because it was a bit of a tighter angle. I know Fatawu beat the defender and curled it in, but he does that a lot. He's done that quite a few times for us. And I think the power that James had behind that effort, and he said he knew it was in before he left his boot. So for me, it was more impressive than the Fatawu one. Even though the Fatawu goal was amazing, I do think the James one was better.
Okay. Right. None of you any issues with the penalty?
100%. It's, listen, I mean, the first thing I'd say on it is, why is Faz sliding in there? He's kind of got this habit of doing it. Obviously, we saw it against West Brom. Kind of flew into a tackle, missed it. They went through and scored, and obviously this time he's flown in and ultimately, whether it was a penalty or not, he's cost us a penalty when just stand up, keep your head, shepherd him out. But I think in my eyes, he got the ball, hit it onto their player, and it should have been a goal kick in my opinion. But I'm not the ref.
Okay, all right then. Yes, 2 weeks off then. I mean, Jim, we're sitting in third. With many fans saying we haven't actually played well yet. So it's not bad, is it? We put a tweet out saying Leicester fans now happy you've got a good manager, and some fans are still saying, well, yeah, let us have another 5 or 6 games. Why aren't the fan base completely sold on Cifuentes football yet?
I think because, like with Maresca, it's all passing and going back. It's so frustrating to watch them have the ball in defence, go to the midfield, go to the edge of the box, when you blink and the ball's back at the defence again. I know you want to keep the ball and keep possession and build and try and find the little pockets of space, but I think some Leicester fans just want the old-fashioned run at them, cross it and have a go. Shoot from 25, 20 yards. You never know what could happen. Instead of trying to find this intricate pass to literally tap the ball in the net, I think it's just frustrating to watch, having the ball always go backward or sideways and not going forward enough to the point where the striker has to come into midfield to try and get the ball and start something off.
Tim, have you got a good manager then? If I put the question directly to you.
Yeah, 100%. I think he's a good manager. I think he seems a lot more promising than certainly some of the managers we've had in place recently, in particularly the previous manager. But no, I think look, his style is starting to show through a bit. I mean, obviously, Cifuentes after the game sort of was talking about this situation with the long shots, which obviously paid his dividends on Saturday with obviously 2 going in from outside the area. And clearly, he thinks that's a part of our game that is something that he wants to be in place. He sort of said, look, we don't want to just be a possession side. We want to be more direct, which I think is what a lot of Leicester fans have been crying out for. Like Jim said, over the last few years, under the last few managers, we've seen a lot of kind of this tiki-taka kind of Pep Guardiola football, which I think a lot of fans have been frustrated with, and we do seem a lot more direct now. We just need that striker, don't we? That's going to score us 20 goals to tap them all in, and we'll be scoring 5 goals like Cov. But I mean, what I would say is ultimately, Cov are scoring 5 goals, but they're only 3 points in front of us, so it's a long old season, isn't it? We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Yeah, a good battle at the top there between Coventry's Leicester will be fascinating, won't it? Okay, let's move on then from those 2 games then. This week, then we're also saying goodbye to September, of course, especially when we moved into October this week. Then, so Jim, we need your September Player of the Month, if that's okay. Who definitely gets it for you?
James.
Yep.
Especially with the last 2 games.
Okay. Yeah, so technically October, aren't we? We'll let you have it then. Yeah, we'll let you have it. Tim?
I'll go with Winks. I think he started the month out of the side. He's one of these players where could have thrown his toys out of the pram. The manager's brought him back in, and we're chalk and cheese when he's in the side. You look at the second half against Wrexham on Tuesday night, and that disaster show with Skip on the pitch. And I think for me, he's been one of our best players. Although I'd say Fatsu's got a shout in there as well.
Okay. In the comments, please let us know who gets your award. We want to just briefly touch on refereeing standards. There's been a number of decisions which I know Juventus has not been happy with, and there's some odd decisions across lots of games this season. So, I mean, comparing it to the Premier League, Jim, in terms of refereeing, there's VAR here, but have you been surprised at the standard of refereeing in the Championship? Do you think it's getting worse?
Yeah, I think the refereeing has been getting worse for years. I just think there's complacency settled in. There's complacency all over the pitch, whether it be linesmen, whether it be in referees. I just don't think that the standard that was set, I don't know, say 10, 15 years ago, has been maintained, and it's just downgraded. But it's not just the Championship, it's all the way down. I mean, I'm a steward at my local team, and they're like the 8th tier football, but the refereeing at that level as well, it's atrocious. They get decisions wrong every single game that are massively wrong, and it's working its way down, and it's just bad all over. It really is.
Do we need VAR, Tim, in the Championship or not? Are you enjoying those goals going in, not having to wait for a 30-second check as to whether there was an offside or a foul in the build-up?
100%. I mean, it's a breath of fresh air being back in the Championship. I think, like you said yourself, your goal goes in, you're not sat there wondering, is it going to get chalked off? Was there a toe offside? That anything silly like that. But then at the same time, you see situations like Saturday where, this Swansea got the pen, and ultimately, it could have cost us. But yeah, for me, I think, look, with regards to the refereeing, I think, the pace of the game and the physicality of the game has got higher and higher and improved over the years. And I just think, the refs that we've got, I just don't think they're capable of keeping up with the play. but also they need a bit of help, I think, because I mean, you look at, again, you go back to the game against Wrexham, and there was a number of times whereby the ref played on, waved the play on, didn't come back and book the player, for whatever reason. But yeah, I think certainly the standard of refereeing, it needs to be looked at.
Okay. Do we have any good ones? Was our question in the comments, please. Do we have any? Are there any you could name? Let us know. Right then, finally then this week, as we started last week, as you were, we're building up our Leicester City A to Z. Last week we did A, and we put in Mark Albrighton, if I remember rightly. So this week we're moving on to B. Gordon Banks was what AI threw up. Now none of you would have been around to watch. I don't think anyway. Not guessing ages, but I don't think you'd be around in that era. So, Jim, any ideas for you? Who should be B, or what should be B?
I'm leaning towards Alan Birchingham. I mean, he's the godfather of my dad's best mate. So I've met him quite a few times, and obviously I've been around him for many years. So for me, for what he did for the club before my time, obviously, but from what I've seen, highlights, and what I've spoken to him about, and everything else, and what he does now as well, all the difficulties he's been through in recent years, but what is still at the club and what it symbolises, he is Leicester. And for me, he is the B. He is Alan Birchingham, so he is Leicester for me.
That's a good shout, Tim.
I honestly don't think I can top that. He's an all-round legend, isn't he? I think any Leicester fan would agree with that. And the sort of pride, energy, passion he put in, prior to the matches, whipping up the stadium into a frenzy before the games, and just his personality as well. I've had the pleasure of lucky enough to meet him a couple of times, and just an all-round great lad. But I suppose at the same time, Banks, probably one of perhaps England's greatest keeper, maybe, for a shout. So, I can see that. But yeah, I think purely from a Leicester perspective, and knowing what we've sort of known over the last few years, I'd totally agree with Jim, and I think Alan Birchingham would be an absolute shout.
Okay, I think Birchingham gets it then in ahead of Banks, unless in the comments you can think of any other player or stadium or match or anything which symbolises this great club with the letter B more than those shouts. Thank you very much. Right, you two, we'll let you have a couple of weeks off then before we head back into the next run of games. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much, of course, for watching. Do press that quick subscribe button. That would mean so much to us before you go. Right, thanks so much, Jim and Tim. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time for some more fun and games. See you then.